Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Obviously a sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes, which was actually the second reboot of the Planet of the Apes series. Now this film has come out to glowing critical praise, so I'm not going to stand here and tell you anything you probably already know. This film is a good film. Is it a spectacular film? I think it has a little bit of a problem, but I'll come on to that. But basically, in case you don't know, this is essentially, as I say, a sequel to Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It really is a continuation of the character Caesar, who is essentially the central ape character who is the kind of the first one to really sort of develop this kind of over sort of intelligence that we kind of see to sort of regulate today. And it really sort of follows his story as he's kind of introduced to his family, his kind of a son called Blue Eyes. He has kind of a kind of, I guess, girlfriend really, for lack of better words. He has a kind of just a kind of a newborn son as well, and that's pretty much his family. He has this kind of empire of apes, and his kind of left-hand man, so to speak, Kota, I think his name is, who is obviously the bad guy. He's got lots of scars and stuff, so we know he's the bad guy. And that's the problem here. It's maybe a little bit predictable. And they come into sort of contact with a group of humans, and initially, they try to kind of have a peaceful resolution, but ultimately we know what's going to happen, and conflict soon follows. So the only criticism I have of this film is really that it is a little bit predictable. You're not really surprised about anything that's going to happen here, and it almost seems like the end of this film was written, and then they've kind of tried to sort of fit the rest of the beginning of the film into sort of suit the ending, if that makes sense. They've almost kind of worked backwards, so it seems, because we know that this sort of franchise is going in a particular direction, and they've kind of got the end goal here, and everything else is kind of just made to sort of fit that. So because of that, it just comes across as a little bit predictable. Now, that is really the only criticism of this film, to be honest, because other than that, it's a very, very good film. Obviously, the effects here are flawless. I mean, you really kind of buy into these CGI apes who are characters, just like, you look at them just like you would a human actor. You buy into their personalities, you buy into the emotions that they're having. And obviously Caesar is played by Andy Serkis, who a lot of people say should be considered for an Oscar for his performance. And it's certainly there, but obviously, yes, there's obviously a team of people behind him that are animating Caesar, along with the rest of the apes, and really sort of breathing life. And to be honest, such a great character. They really are fantastic to look at, and you do forget you're looking at special effects, which is, I guess, the highest praise you can really say for sort of digital effects. Now, the human characters, I have to say, were perhaps a little bit bland. I mean, they were kind of just your sort of, your typical sort of characters that you would expect to see. Really, the only one who kind of has a lot of personality is the main human character, who I'm forgetting his name now, to be honest. He was that memorable. But that's the thing, they're just more supporting characters, and they're there to play off the kind of the ape characters, but they just come across as a little bit generic. Obviously, you've got Gary Oldman here, who, but the trailers, you made me think he's the kind of the bad guy, but it's not really the case. To be quite honest, without getting into sort of too many spoilers, there is a bad guy in it, but he, although I guess you would potentially call Gary Oldman a bad guy of circumstance, I would say. But it's it's a solid film. It's very entertaining. It's great action sequences. Pretty decent acting across the board. Fantastic special effects. Fantastic cinematography. That's why I love the kind of like the backdrops of here, the kind of this sort of ruined civilization. Just the kind of the eye for detail was absolutely fantastic. So the only real criticism I have of this film is that it is just a little bit predictable, and you can kind of. Apart from the apes, really, none of the human characters were really that memorable either. Not that James Franco was particularly fantastic in the first film, but I think maybe he was better than the human characters in this film. So it's a good, solid film. I don't think it's a spectacular film, but it's a good, solid film. So don't take my criticisms in the fact that it's in any way a bad film. I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. What did you think of it? Leave me a comment. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.